Hey, it's Eric from WanderWithEric.com. A couple months back, before my life changed completely, I visited the American Heritage Museum in Hudson, Massachusetts, which has a world-class collection of armored vehicles and a lot of other cool stuff too. You may have already seen my video that I made about American tanks in their collection. If not, I'll link it above. While I was there, I also filmed a whole bunch of British, Soviet, and German tanks in their collection, and I wanted to share those with you as well. So that's what this video is all about. But before we get to that, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to get notified whenever I post something new. Share it with your friends, leave a comment to tell me what you thought about it. All that stuff helps the channel keep growing. Now, without any further ado, let's go wander around the American Heritage Museum and check out European tanks. The Vickers Mk VI, a plucky British light tank from the 1930s, sported riveted armor, a boxy hull, and a twin machine gun armament. The cramped interior housed a trio of crewmen. Little did the British know this little tank would soon be needed on the field of battle. Here's the man to blame, Adolf Hitler. At the spearhead of the German tank columns in 1939 was the Panzer I, a nimble light tank featuring a compact angular design and twin machine guns. Inside, the snug compartment housed a duo of operators. Big things would come from this modest beginning. The Matilda Mk II, a British infantry support tank, had very thick frontal armor offering a ton of protection. Unfortunately, this resulted in slow speeds. The tank confronted Axis forces with mixed results in France and North Africa, where it earned the nickname Queen of the Desert. Speaking of the North African campaign, here's some more equipment that saw action there. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the German StuG III assault gun was having a field day. The low-profile design offered good concealment and the front armor was thick. The powerful 75mm gun could destroy most Soviet tanks of the time, but it had limited traverse, meaning the hull had to be pointed towards the target. Despite this, the legendary StuG III was extremely versatile and successful. Here's some more equipment fielded on the Eastern Front. The T-34-76, a Soviet medium tank, featured sloped armor, improving protection without adding weight. German panzers feared its 76.2mm gun, but the tank suffered from a cramped two-man turret. The wide tracks excelled in the Eastern Front's mud and snow. Despite some mechanical issues, the T-34-76 proved invaluable to the Soviets, and many scholars consider it to be one of the best tank designs of World War II, maybe even all time. Arguably the centerpiece of the AHM collection is this immaculately restored gem. Learning from Eastern Front battles against the T-34, German designers delivered the innovative Panzer V Panther. This advanced medium tank combines sloping armor, high mobility, and a fast-firing 75mm gun. The interleaved road wheels handled great, but proved tough to work on. While the Panther's front armor was impressive, its high profile left its sides and rear vulnerable. Some said the Panther was over-engineered and unnecessarily complex, but it proved highly effective in battles like Kursk, Normandy, and the Battle of the Bulge. You might recognize this from the movie The Dirty Dozen. This is the actual one from the film. Once the German Panthers appeared on the Eastern Front, the Soviets knew they had to step up their game. The T-34-85 had most of the benefits of the earlier T-34-76, while also introducing a larger turret and an 85mm gun for improved firepower. While less sophisticated than the Panther, it was cheaper and could be fielded in larger numbers. While battle raged on the Eastern Front, the Western Allies began offensives in Italy and Normandy. One British tank that would see a lot of action was the Mk VIII Cromwell. It was a cruiser tank featuring sloped armor, a 75mm gun, and a high-speed, reliable engine. Its agility and speed made it effective in recon and flanking, but it struggled against heavily armored opponents. Notable engagements included Normandy and Operation Market Garden. The increasingly desperate Germans began using terror weapons like the V1 flying bomb. Replacing the whole machine gun with a flamethrower gave the venerable Churchill a new spark. It still had strong armor and a 75mm gun, but suffered from slow speed. Effective in urban and fortified areas, the Crocodile participated in battles like Normandy and the Italian campaign. The Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzer was a German tank destroyer with a compact, low-profile design. Armed with a 75mm gun, it excelled in ambush tactics. As with the StuG III, it had limited gun traverse, but the Hetzer still proved cost-effective and reliable. It was particularly active during the late war defensive actions on the eastern and western fronts. The M22 Locust was a light tank designed by the USA to be airdropped by glider. It only saw limited action under the British before they decided it looked better on paper. The A34 Comet, a British cruiser tank, was highly effective against the best German tanks of the late war and served as the basis for British post-war designs. In the late stages of World War II, the Third Reich's air defense was increasingly overwhelmed by Allied air superiority. Despite being state-of-the-art at the beginning of the war, the venerable Me-109 now found itself outclassed by new Allied fighter designs. This is the Su-100, a Soviet tank destroyer featuring a powerful 100mm gun, robust armor, and a low profile. It excelled at long-range engagements, but faced limited mobility and a cramped interior. It performed well in late World War II battles and the Korean War. This big daddy is the IS-2, a Soviet heavy tank of the late war, boasting thick armor and a potent 122mm gun. This beast prioritized breakthrough capabilities and assaults on enemy fortifications. It was hindered by slow reload times and limited ammunition capacity, but still proved highly effective in the Battle of Berlin. Despite the suffering of the recent war, the world was nevertheless drawn into a new Cold War between East and West. The new Soviet medium tank was ready shortly after the end of World War II. The T-55 had good mobility, strong armor, a powerful 100mm gun, and was fitted with a NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical protection system. It has since seen action in many conflicts, including the Six-Day War and Vietnam. During the Cold War, walls went up between East and West, and both sides planned for a potential nuclear conflict. This is the Soviet PT-76, a fully amphibious light tank. It could go where other tanks couldn't, but thin armor and a small gun limited it to a supporting role. It participated in Vietnam and the Indo-Pakistani conflicts. The most modern non-American tank at the AHM, the T-72 was a Soviet main battle tank and successor to the T-55. It featured a powerful auto-loaded 125mm gun, robust armor, and a compact, low-profile design. Despite these strengths, it had issues with its fire control system, outdated electronics, and crew ergonomics. First introduced in the 1970s, the T-72 saw extensive combat in various conflicts, including the Iran-Iraq War, Gulf War, and the Ukrainian conflict. It has been upgraded many times, proving highly adaptable and still relevant on modern battlefields. There you have it. I told you it was a world-class collection. The American Heritage Museum is absolutely outstanding. If you're at all interested in this kind of stuff and you find yourself in the greater Boston area, I highly recommend you stop and check it out. Anyhow, as always, thanks for deciding to wander with Eric today. I hope you'll wander with me again next time. In the meantime, don't forget to keep exploring.